Imagine the darkest highway you've ever driven on. Now, double that isolation and add an unsettling quiet. A quiet so heavy it feels like something's watching, waiting. Tonight, we're diving into the bone-chilling world of long-haul truckers, where the hours between midnight and dawn breed horrors that can make even the bravest heart skip a beat. This isn't just any road tale. It's a true story of terror, lurking just beyond the truck's headlights. What would you do if the shadows started to move? Or worse, if they decided to move toward you? Our story begins with Jack, a seasoned trucker who'd driven cross-country more times than he could count. That night, he was making a haul through desolate stretches of Nevada when he felt a pull to stop at an old rest area. It was a simple gravel lot with a vending machine, the type of place Jack usually avoided. But tonight, something just felt different. Anyone else get that eerie urge to stop somewhere you'd never normally even consider? As he stepped out into the cold, Jack felt the air thick with a tension he couldn't quite shake. He shrugged it off, chuckling to himself. Maybe I'm just tired. He turned to the vending machine, its lights blinking erratically, just as a shadow passed in the distance. But here's the thing. Jack was alone, or so he thought. Ignoring the feeling, Jack leaned down to grab his drink when he caught something in his peripheral vision. A figure, barely visible, seemed to shift just outside the circle of light. But when he turned, it was gone. Was it his imagination, or something else? You ever have one of those moments where you question if you're awake or still dreaming? Well, Jack was about to find out the hard way. Trying to shake off the jitters, he cranked up his radio, ready to put the strange encounter behind him. But as he glanced in his side mirror, his blood ran cold. There it was, a shadowy figure, standing impossibly still, right next to his truck, just staring. Now tell me, do you ignore it and drive, or roll down your window to get a better look? Jack's instinct was survival. He floored it, leaving the figure in a swirl of dust. But the further he drove, the more he felt he was being followed. Paranoia crept in, making every sound a threat, every shadow a lurking figure. And as if on cue, his radio started picking up a faint, crackling voice repeating, "Jack, Jack." Imagine being alone in the middle of nowhere and hearing your own name echo through the static. Was someone messing with him, or was it something else entirely? Just a quick question. How many of you would still have your wits at this point? Because Jack, he was losing it fast. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, his engine died. Silence enveloped him, punctuated only by the distant howl of coyotes. Jack gripped the wheel, whispering to himself, come on, trying to will the engine back to life. But in the distance, something was getting closer. In his mirror, Jack saw those figures, tall and gaunt, moving toward him with unnatural, jerky movements. His heart pounded as he fumbled for his keys, adrenaline making his hands shake. But the figures didn't care. They just kept coming, relentless, unfeeling. Now, seriously, how fast would you get out of there? Because Jack was about to break some records. With a miraculous turn of fate, the engine roared to life, and Jack didn't hesitate. He sped down the highway, the figures receding into the darkness. But even as he put miles between himself and that rest area, the whispers continued to echo in his mind. And that shadow, it felt like it had left a mark on him, one he'd carry long after this night was over. Jack pulled into the next truck stop, stumbled out, and spent the next hour in silence, trying to convince himself it was all just a nightmare, a trick of the mind. But deep down, he knew those figures were real as the terror that still clung to him. And no matter how far he drove, he'd never quite feel safe on the road again. So the next time you're driving those lonely highways, think of Jack. And remember, some roads hold secrets that aren't meant to be disturbed. Oh, and if you're up for more sleepless nights, check out my next video, Disturbing Stories to Keep You Awake at Night. Trust me, you won't want to sleep after that one.